Was good as your boy. Well, I'm back with a little bit more prison and jail stories. We're going to continue on this all week. Um, I don't know when I'll be touching ground back in New York again. Pretty much gonna be staying down south for a while. But with that, a lot of people asking me to touch on things like holding and COs and hacks. Well, there's a big difference. Like holding, even sometimes holding on Rikers Island. If you get into a fight, usually you get a tier three, you get sent to the box, then you have a hearing, and then the captain, lieutenant decides what your punishment should be. It could be 90 days, 180 days, you know, a year. It matters. Up north, automatic tier three, fighting in the mess hall, inciting a riot. It's worse. Fighting in the yard, inciting a riot. That's even worse. Fighting at church, certain visiting room floor. Wow, you might not even. You just might be spending whatever time you got left on that compound or jail in the box. Okay, so those are tier three tickets. They can range from all different, you know, time in the box. It just, I don't know. It's You have to be in a hearing to understand it. But mess hall, church, yard, very bad to get into a fight. Um, a weapon, toothbrush grinded down, piece of metal from the yard, from the weight room, grinded down, tier three, bad ticket. Sometimes you get a tier three, you pay a fine. If you got money in your commissary, you pay a fine, you get out. That's the state. Um, State COs, they're a little bit different, except when you're, doing box time, or if you're in cells on Rikers Island, or if you're in cells up north. When a female is on duty, you should be dressed at all times. You should be standing at your door at count or walking around in your underwears. Some of them take it as a disrespect. And you know what? They'll crack your cell and they'll give you a quick little beating, wash you up a little bit, no ticket, no anything like that. But in the feds, it's very disrespectful. When they walk around, they do count in the box or the cells. Make sure you got your clothes on. Someone asked me about the COs on the island and holding, flirting with certain individuals. Yes. A lot of people on the boat know a lot of the women that work there. It's a big Far Rock, which is Far Rockaway Queen system going on in there. The COs, the EMA. I mean, I've heard inmates just with, yo, that's that chick from my boy's building, you know, over there on 17th Street, or yeah. So a lot of them gonna get messed with by the men and the female. Uh, but the female, they do like the Italians. They talk to you, but some of the black COs hate the Italians just because they're white. They just, you know, cracker, white bread, they just feel that way. And they do. Um, just like the comedians on TV, the black comedians, when they make those jokes, and it's okay for them to call white people the things that they call them. So it's done in prison and in jail as well. Um, but like I've had a few, you know what? I've had more than a few that have been real cool with me, and I've seen them flirt, not necessarily with me. And the Mencio, if you got a pretty girl coming up to visit you on the island, as soon as she gets home or whenever you talk to her again, the first thing out of her mouth is, that CO that was working the visiting room floor. Well, he tried kicking it to me, he tried giving me his number. Yeah, some real scumbag shit that they pull. and your hands are tied. I actually seen this real hood dude go at a CO on a visiting room floor for flirting with his girl. That's not necessarily they do it all the time, but whenever you touch a CO or anything down with a CO, it's a new charge, box time. Uh, I remember, I don't know if I might have told this in passing during a story, but not during a jail story. I did a skip bid for 2 months on Rikers Island, came off. I don't know, it was like a year later. I went back for 3 months, and the rapper Casanova was in the box. When I came back, he was in the box again, meaning he never left it. And from my understanding, he spent 3 years in the box, but you would never think it. Laughing, joking, but they could never put him with anybody. Every time they try to double him up, he washes Bunky up. That means as soon as he got in there, he threw him a beating and got him out of there, I guess, unless it was one of his homies. So things like that happen all the time. I was telling you about the house gang. They let run the prison. And if you get out of line or you don't obey the rules, they let them handle it. Like I said, a certain part of the building I was in the Beacon for majority of my time, COs were scared to do their walk. And I remember they had this, it was very weird to see a heavy set white guy walk in the Beacon. Never seen that, you know. Usually those guys were like sergeants, lieutenants, and boy, he used to walk the upper tier and do the count. Well, do his check, his half-hour check, whatever, that was and they used to abuse this poor guy. Every name in the book they would call him. Now, this was a housing unit that brought everything to you, but I explained a haircut and your commissary. You were able to sometimes leave for uh, in the second house. In the first house, they actually brought you your commissary in a laundry bin, which didn't make any sense because you couldn't do laundry on Rikers Island. So, but yeah, they would bring your commissary there, your food there. The only thing was they'd march you like your fifth grade class to get a haircut. Everybody would line up. They'd stop at certain housing units, pick other guys up, and they'd walk you down and get a haircut. And like I said, my first beef was with a Muslim guy talking about my Jesus tattoo that I have on my stomach off to the side. Since I gained a little weight, it looks like it's life-size Jesus on my stomach, but it's supposed to be pushed off to the side a little bit. And he said something to me coming out of the shower. He's trying to school me on religion, and he had, he was in the right direction, but he was totally in the wrong car. You know what I mean? So he had, and you try your hardest day in and day in. I got my chair, I got a little phone time, watching the TV, not beefing. Got in on an old man, his always come OT, black guy from Harlem as a spade partner. Hopped with the Dominicans and the Jamaicans against the Dominicans in a domino game. So I was selling a little bit. They were liking my attitude, quiet, didn't talk about you. Don't. Number one rule, listen to me. Even when I got close with somebody and we're talking about cases, everything I've ever said I was in for, marijuana. What are you in for? Marijuana. I don't care if it's your closest friend. He knows what you're there for already. Why is he asking? He knows the crimes you're committing. Why is he asking you about them? When Joe Messina made Vinny Gorgeous the acting boss, and now they're in MCC together, why are you telling the boss, regardless that he's the boss, the crimes you committed already. You committed them. You have permission to commit them. They're done. Bury them, especially if they were capital crimes. You never speak of them again, regardless if it's the boss of the family. He made you acting boss. And that's, not, I wouldn't say a mistake, but that's where Vinny slipped up, talking about those crimes again. So whenever anybody asks me, I've always felt like I was, and they are. Listen, you guys think these guys did their time because they did their, no, they didn't. Oh, there's a guy, I see guys come on guys podcast. There's Johnny Bag of Donuts, and he back on watching us tonight. He loves us. And there's a guy who did his time. Yeah. Okay. I've done my time as well for the crimes I've committed. So what does that mean? When they start wanting you to do time for the crimes you didn't commit, but that others did, and because of association, they want you to do that time, it doesn't work like that. And I promise you, 70% of the guys that are doing football numbers or big numbers as well, if they had a way out, they'd take it. If it was telling, if it was anything, catching somebody being a jailhouse rat, meaning listening to somebody's story and going to report it, that run rampant through. So I've seen it done on myself plenty of times by guys. Marijuana. Oh, that's it? That's why you, yeah. Really? Yeah, they caught me with marijuana. That's why I'm here. And regardless of my jacket, there was always a marijuana pin. So, I wasn't lying, but I wasn't giving anything else up, And like I said, it's very, people think, and then you hear about these guys who get pinched 4 or 5 times. Like, I had a chance to rap, but I didn't. Well, if you're home and the most you ever spent was a weekend or an overnight, and you've been locked up so many times, to me, there's something fishy there. And then why would you even bring up the subject of you having a chance to rat if you weren't even looking at anything that serious, that you've been locked up 4 or 5 times, been on the lam, had warrants out for your arrest, and you never spent the day without ratting? So why would ratting have to come even into your mind? That just tells me that you must have did something. You must have cooperated somehow, but people can never find out what backroom door, they make backroom deals behind closed doors that you can never know about because it's not recorded, it's not written in paper, it's not in court transcripts. And then the district attorney in that city, state, or wherever that person comes from, goes to the judge and says, we've come to an agreement with the defense attorney, which is probably a court-appointed lawyer, so no BS can be spoken about, and the deal's made, and this guy walks out and he gets on a podcast and tells you, I've never ratted before. I've been locked up plenty of times. Right there tells you he's bullshitting. Anybody that's been locked up plenty of times and is walking around free and never done a bid, they're bullshitting. They did something, okay? So, upstate, doing the count, like I said, disrespect women, get washed up. Holding, reception, bookings. I mean, it was the winter time. Black dude was cold. Kid walked in with a white on white. I guess when Pele was in, leather jacket. I don't know. He seemed like maybe he was a little bit maybe on some kind of substance. He was a white guy, and I guess he didn't think he was going to get taken. Him and this kid went at it. He fought for his jacket, but the kid smashed his head in. When the kid got done smashing his head in, the jacket was loaded with blood. COs came in, court officers, not COs, court officers came in, split them up, put one in one cell, the other in the other, and they were both cold because neither one of them got to have the jacket. So that goes on all the time in bookings. Any fight, which if I run into somebody that I got to beef with in bookings, I'm going to settle it there. you know, Rikers Island, 2015. I stayed there for almost 4 months. I had a beef with the blood over the phone. I didn't even have full time. I had nothing on my books. I was checking to see if I had my free click on the Sunday, and it was 8 o'clock, and it didn't come in yet. So I thought that let me check. It was his slot time, and he kind of wanted. He was pressing me a little bit here and there during chow, and saying things in the yard, but nothing disrespectful. So there's always a blind spot on the COs, and they stay in their bubble long enough. So we walked off to the side. We threw hands. He was getting a little bit of the better of me. As soon as I started getting the better of him, and that, a fight is 30 seconds and it feels like 5 minutes. But for maybe 5 seconds, he was getting the best of me. And by the time I was getting the best of him, because if you're not dominating the fight, that's how it works. So I got him, and I got him good. And the big homie was like, all right, break it up. So the kid that was closest to him and his crew made sure he grabbed me. And when he grabbed me, he hit me with these 2 solid kidney shots. And I dropped. And everybody was looking at me like, you were just on top of him. Like, you just had, what happened to this guy? And it was just like, I don't know if you ever get hit with kidney shots, older brothers, older friends, they give you a little quick kidney shots. It takes all the wind out of you and, brings you down. And that's what I look like. But when he did that, I had a Spanish dude sitting next to me. And I remember, I think I had like $10 or $20 in my pocket when they locked me up, and I was able to put it in the commissary. So in the beginning, I had like peanut butter, flip flops for the shower, because you need that, or you got to be showering in your socks. You can catch fungus and you can catch staph, but it's like just little things. And I know I had a little bit of peanut butter. This guy came in dope sick. He didn't feel good. He seemed like a nice guy. He was an older gentleman. So I kind of was feeding him peanut butter, from my, you know, underneath my bed where you keep your stuff. You get a little like Foot Locker, but it's in plastic. And he remembered that. So when that fight happened, those 5, 6 bloods, and I was hanging out with this kid who was called YG. We were spinning the yard, jumping on the handball courts, playing against the Lion Kings. So I had a good relationship with one of the dudes was from Suffolk County. Although he got pinched on a case in Long Island. So he was pretty cool. And we were playing against them. And I thought the kid was cool. But again, don't trust anybody. So I kept it at that. And when the fight broke out, he was nowhere to be found. He said, "Oh, I didn't know these guys were." He just did 10 in Auburn. He was back in the building on a violation. It was a new charge. He was sticking somebody up or selling drugs. Like I said, you ain't getting the truth out of anybody about why they're there. Some guys are bragging about it because they're not going to see the light of day. So, but when I turned up and they were breaking up the fight and the kid hit me with the 2 shots, Spanish guy was right there, grabbed that guy off of me, threw him off to the side, and it actually almost turned into something. But he had a little bit of connect with the Lion Kings, because even if you're not a king, they protect their own kind on Rikers Island. They're strong. They've been there the longest. They're pretty strong. So, and that was just like me just being me, a little empathy, feeling like, let me get this guy. And in no time, I tell you, these guys, they get back into shape like that. Before you know it, this guy was doing pull-ups, 500 push-ups, and he's getting his body shape back, eating that Rikers Island food. And the rest of my bid, he was with me every day, just me and him, spinning the yard, playing handball, hanging, and he had my back. He showed me that he did, and that was just me showing him a little bit of love with a quarter bottle of peanut butter. It was about this big, the jar. If you ever see them on Rikers Island, they're about that big. And I gave him the rest, And that wasn't like a friendly extortion or, you know, trying to make a friend. Guy was literally sick and I was trying to help him. And he would get things from his homies because then when he got cleaned up and everything, he was going to church. His Latin King homies would come over, bless him. He'd bless me since I had nothing. And that's where, you see, real. You still keep your guard up and everything like that. And it's crazy because in that building, it was that wild kid that Gene, my boy, was rolling with at the time. Chris Kignata, Gene, and another wise guy's son, real tough kid that I ran into a medical the one or two times I was in there. And that's another thing. They had holding cells in medical. You get into a fight in there, that's a tier 3. That's a bad ticket as well. And but he's seen me face to face. I never ran into Gene and I never ran into Kanata. And there was somebody else in there, a couple of kids from the neighborhood. I was in Gen Pop right out of the feds with all the rumors about me and everything. And like I said, the kid Anthony seen me, and I didn't get to run into Gene or Kignata. And I don't know what would have popped off with us because they were in the streets running wild, and I had rumors against me. But Gene was a smart enough guy to know if I told him this is what I did and this is how I did it, he would have believed me because we go back. So, but it was a dangerous position for me. These kids were running wild. He was with Frankie Pasquale. That's when they heard a kid in there. The kid Cagnata was hurting kids in there. So, but I didn't see anybody that was either white or Italian in my housing unit. I seen them in passing. Like I said, the food came to the dorm, commissary came to the dorm, only medical you would go out for. And when I got switched to another housing unit, you would walk that same hallway to get to your commissary. But, guys were asking me, you see all of that. The COs flirting with the inmates, not necessarily me, but yeah, the women COs, they all live in the same area. They're from the same projects. I think that's kind of weird that they hire people from the same places that they're locking these people up. But it's the way it goes. You can't deny people a job if they're qualified. But I was cool. Usually you would call the COs Miss and whatever their first name was on Rikers Island. And when you get upstate, it's not diverse at all. All the COs are white. There was one black CO, and he was actually married to a white woman that worked in the same compound, and that was in Ulster County. And that's only about an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours away from the city. It's very close. And it's only reception. But that was the first and last time I seen a black CO upstate, not even Hispanic. They're all white. They're all hillbillies. They're all, rocker guys that play in rock bands on the side, or pool guys or carpenters, and some of them live in trailers. Yeah, upstate, it's a horse of a different color, and very easily you're getting washed up. Those COs, that's where if you get to a medium and you end up in a dorm and you're in your underwears and a woman CO is doing a count, she'll call another CO in, and they'll take you into, when you walk out to the door, you open up the one door and you go out, and then there's the outside door. So in between that door, many people got washed up, and people were talking about booty bandits. Well, listen, I didn't see the booty bandits. I never heard about the booty bandits between the feds and the state and Rikers Island, even though people were there for a minute. I've heard that there were special places at night that people would go and do their thing voluntarily. Nobody was snatching anybody's booty. Nobody was doing anything like that. They were voluntarily had their punks, and they were going in their bathroom and they were handling their business. I was asleep at that time. I minded my business like I did on the three main things that you get at the beach with in jail. And then, you get a boy, you get a hookup in the mess hall and buying tomatoes, you're buying peppers, you get a job in the library. So at night you're reading books, you got access to the books. Say whatever time that your housing unit goes out to the yard. You do a half hour in the weight pit. And if it's a 45-minute or an hour, 45-minute, you take the other 15, play handball, spin the yard, you're spinning the track at that point. Or you do the other way around, 45 minutes in the weight pit, 15 minutes spinning the yard, playing handball, whatever. That's what you got. And that's when I just made it up there when they took the tuna cans away. And then they got the can, they would keep a can opener on a string, bottle opener, nail clipper, which was disgusting. You never want to go near that. And the can opener would open any can, but it would open it from like maybe a tenth of an inch around the top. So it cuts the top of the can and you can't, it doesn't, there's no, usually when you cut a tuna can, it's very sharp and edgy. And well, I was they sent me up to shock for no reason. Once your record stamped OC, you can never get shocked. So I knew I had no shot of coming home in that 6-month shock program, but they sent me there anyway. It's the tip of the Canada's Brockton, New York. It's terrible, sitting up there waiting. And they were making fun of a tranny. It was a guy transitioning into a woman and must have got picked up for selling drugs or something. And one of the homies was messing with it. That's, you didn't call it a guy or a girl. And it's crazy because it bunked like 2 bunks down from me. And we would be on the handball courts because that wall would block everything. But that's not why we played handball. And this homie was messing with the tranny. And the next day, cut open a tuna can, bent it, put a napkin on it or any type of cloth to hold it. And they got out to the yard and were playing handball, and the homie was buying the handball clutch and cut him wide open with the tuna can. And then there was big railroad behind us that was the railroad that was going into Canada, right over the gate. They looked for this weapon. I can't tell you for how long. And the tranny passed it. Nothing ever happened. And I'm going to be honest with you, his homies, they maybe washed him up when he got out of the infirmary. I don't know. Because that's a bad reputation, getting cut by a tranny. Left his guard down. The tranny cut him wide open. This thing wasn't playing. And this thing would sleep 2 bunks down from me. And I had a big homie that slept to the left of me. And I had another homie all the way on the wall. These were blood kids from New York, one from Staten Island, one from Brooklyn. And I had an Italian kid that was my handball partner sleeping on the other end. And there'd be a certain CO on at night, and he was a cool guy. He was a nice guy. He didn't bother anybody. Just would be like, keep the noise down. Everything was the noise in the dorm, which I never understood. It's like, they're not going to hear that shit. But they'd be reading their books or listening to their music, so whatever, And during count, he'd be walking around doing his count, and the thing would scream out because I was on the handball course that day. Yo, Rousseau, you think they want to fuck around anymore? It's like, I didn't mind because I have nothing against, people liking the same sex, people wanting to change into a woman, a man trying to change, whatever, women trying to change into a, none of that bothered me. But it gathers you a bad reputation. But you know what? I didn't let it stereotype me, and I didn't shun the tranny. So if it did say something to me like that, I laughed at it, kept it moving. If it said good morning, I'd say good morning. If they said what's up, I said what's up, and we kept it moving. And it would always sit at the table across from the handball courts that we played at. And then one time there was a big game between us and the Bloods, and they were cheating. Like they had their boys on the sidelines. It was only me and this one Italian kid from Staten Island, Dino. And the ball was out. We won the game. And all the Blood kids, all the homies, because one of the guys that were on the team was a big homie with one of his homies. Nah, that was in. And the trainer was like, nah, that shit was out. You know, she was rooting for us. He, she, whatever, you know? And that caused a big controversy. And I was like, all right, we'll take 2 on it. And we almost lost because of that. But we wound up coming back and we wound up beating them. And that was our handball court from then on in. They would have to play on the other side until somebody came and beat us. And me and Dino, we didn't lose the whole time we were there. So we were there for like 3-4 months. 3 months and change. I forgot how long we spent in that reception. It was terrible till we got sent off. And we ended up on the same compound with a lot of good handball players. So we were running like 3rd or 4th. And then we switched up. Dino was playing. They had a little soccer field. He was playing a little soccer. And I picked up another kid from Long Island who was Italian off the boat, Enzo. And then we were once I got with him, he was amazing. And we were just, I'd cover his left and we were just, killing it. And this is upstate, you know what I mean? And you get packages, you get visits, you wear regular clothes in the yard. And there's a thing that I didn't know. When you do go to the mess hall, right? I heard about it, but I thought it was only in Max's, right? So if you're done with one, you don't blow your nose at the table. You're all sitting at a table. You can actually end up at different housing, different table, same table with different housing units, right? So there be guys from housing unit across, compound from you. You blow your nose at the table, that could cause a big beef. No, it's very disrespectful. Even though a lot of these guys don't even know how to hold their fork. Nevertheless, know what it means to blow your nose at a table. But the one thing was, as soon as you're done with your tray, you get up, dump it, you get in line, you head back to your housing unit. Anytime somebody was getting up off the table, you would hear, and that means somebody was getting up. No need to worry. The guy's not making a move on you. That came from the Maxes. Guys would have to do that to let other guys know they weren't making moves on them. Because a lot of times in the mess hall, a lot of moves went down because that's probably the only time you may see somebody from another housing unit. So they would get up and they're getting ready to make a move on somebody you would know. But the double click, usually if there's salt and pepper shakers on the table, they'd hit those, or it was always 2 knocks on a knuckle, gets up with his tray, dumps it, and he's letting everybody know at the table, he's just dumping his tray and that's it. He's not getting up to make a move. Could be on another table, could be on a crew member, could be on somebody on that table. But when you do that, you're giving people a heads up. You're getting up, you're dumping your tray. I learned that. Somebody, yes, they were called rat hunters in Elmira. His name was Pussy, and he would call himself a rat chaser, and he was part of the rat hunters. So to correct it, the name of the crew was rat hunters, and they consider themselves a rat chaser. So yes, they do have that, and that's what they specifically look for. You hear a guy coming into the compound behind the wall, and if there's an inkling that he was a rat, the rat hunters would send a chaser after him. And that's where it came from. So I'm giving you the lingo like how it was said. Yes, they are rat hunters, and they would say we're going to send a few chasers after them, rat chasers. So it wasn't that I gave you the wrong name. I just didn't give it to you in the right order. So that's state prison. And it's, you end up in a place, and if you behave yourself and you're a model inmate, you know, every 8 to 12 weeks you can get trailer visits, which a lot of people don't understand. Trailer visits, any immediate family. That means wife, mother, father, brother, sister, and kids come visit you for the weekend if you're on good behavior, and you spend the weekend in a trailer. Now, those trailers keep you human with human touch from the outside. You can have your wife and you can make love to your wife. You can get your wife pregnant. Or if you don't have a wife, you can be with your children that maybe your mother or father would bring them up, or brother or sister, and you could spend the weekend with them. Those trailers are paid for and sponsored by the United States government. Pays for those trailers for you, the New York State Department of Corrections, which is very weird because the feds do not have trailers. So switching over to the feds, you have nothing. I spent 6 months of my bid without commissary. And this is where people that are close to you can see how they can hurt you. You have to buy your sneakers in the feds, and you're only allowed one pair. Your radio in the feds, your socks, your underwears, your thermals, your boots. Nothing can come from the outside. Not one thing can come from the outside. I think, if I remember correctly, stamps could be mailed in, but I had stamps. We would, trade or bullshit poker games with close friends. You win stamps, but nothing. So everything, and free candy bars, $2 in the feds. But that's how the feds break you, and they give you so much time. It's like you need commissary, and it's okay to put $20 on your phone if you live in locally and call them locally. But if you're in Missouri or Arkansas or Kansas City or whatever, and you need to call New York, you're gonna need some money, and they limit you. They limit you to 300 minutes a month. I used to go through 300 minutes in 2 days. That's how fast you can use 300 minutes. In the state, you had to wait every 20 minutes after a 20-minute phone call, which is insane, 20-minute phone call. But they fly by. So, but if you got money on your books, every 20 minutes you can make a new phone call. And so they actually shut the phones off from the main office for all dorms or cells or wherever you are. They shut the phones off. So you could be in the middle of a phone call, at 10 o'clock comes, man, dead. But you had all day to speak, And I ended up in a compound for 30 days when I was going for programming, where people go to get parole. As I explained, there's programs. I ended up in Butler, in a low. They sent me back to a medium to finish out 6 months of my bid. After that didn't make sense, right? So with that, they had phones in the yard. So and you could walk in and out of your dorm at places like that. So if you wanted privacy and you didn't want to make a call inside the dorm, you could walk outside, and on the track, there'd be a phone in the corner. And then you had phones, like a line of phones, like 4 of them on the end of the track. And you could be outside talking. The feds, nothing like that. 300 minutes and you're dead. So I would finish my minutes in 2 days. And for another 28 days, I had no outside contact besides email. And I would send one email, but I would send 5 out, and I wouldn't get a response until I went back on the next day. I sent another 5 out to the same people, and then the day. So there was no enjoyment in that. So the whole purpose of that is the feds do everything they can to make everything uncomfortable for you. I don't know if I've said this before. There's only one program in jail in the feds, and that's GED and a drug program. Other than that, and I'm not even sure if they do the GED anymore. There is no program. You can get a job, you go to work, make you 25 cents an hour, or what is it, $1 a day or $2 a week or something insane. It's not a lot of money at all. But that's all. You can't program, you can't go to school, you can't learn a trade. The feds are not playing around. You're there to be punished. You're not there to be rehabilitated. I tell these stories because it's not glorifying anything. I know they say we're glorifying the life, but we're not. I want you to understand that this is what you have ahead of you. Listen, I was a kid that grew up with no Doritos in my cupboard, no video games on my TV, one TV in the whole house, meat only on Sundays inside our sauce. So it's not the smallest violin in the world playing it for me, for my wine and the crime. It's me giving it to you the right way. So I was built for that already growing up. So not having things, having to live off what the government's going to give me to use while I'm there, had hand-me-downs, had ABC specials. What am I going to complain about? I'm just right back to where I was for the time being. So these stories, I hope they give you anxiety. They make you not want to go. And like I said, I wasn't the toughest. I wasn't the baddest. I didn't commit the worst crimes. I didn't commit the best crimes. But I was there. I witnessed it. I lived it. I felt it. I was a part of it. And when I hear people talk about it being the greatest times of their lives or they learned so much, I learned. You know what I learned? I learned how to survive even better on my next bid when it happened again. It wasn't a fun time. None of it was. You know what it's like constantly being on your game? It's stressful and you don't realize it. And it makes you hard. It makes you bitter. You got to know better and turn that around. And with that, I will continue giving you more jail stories this week. And then we'll talk about Cosa Nostra in jail. For now, stay up and we'll have more videos coming at you.